Thursday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Browns wrapping up things. We'll have a long Labor Day weekend, as will we. But still some things going on today. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, with a film breakdown, video analysis of some areas of concern. And there are some, Lance, without question.
Well, yeah, I think I think the Browns are a lot stronger than people think, especially with their offense and defensive line. But there are some concerns with the receiver position, cornerback position with the depth, safety, that one hi-hat safety we've talked about, depth on the offensive line. Like I said, that number 2 receiver. Are they committed to the run game? There's some things that they have to, answer some questions as they move forward, just because they lack some depth at positions and they lack some explosiveness at some of their skill spots.
So we're going to start with number 2 receiver. And Cedric Tillman, by all accounts, will get the chance to prove he is that. But take us through kind of what your thoughts are with Tillman as a number 2.
Well, Tillman to me is very frustrating. You're going to see him here against Emerson before Emerson got hurt himself, and he is so good to get to in the red zone. And then he comes back, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, and he does a good scramble drill, and he gets away, see him at the bottom of the screen, and then he drops it. And it's one of those things, for me, it's when I watch Tillman, and especially when I stand next to him and when you see him and you're elbow to elbow with him, he's such a big kid. He's got long arms. He's very good off the line of scrimmage. I kind of break receivers down in 3 phases: their ability to get off the line of scrimmage, first man in zone, at the catch point, and run after the catch. And he's pretty good at all those. And he's really good at the catch point, especially in the red zone, which is what they need with Jerry Jeudy on the outside. So can he be a true number 2? They got rid of some guys that I thought could be number 2. I thought Deontay Johnson during the middle of camp was pushing him for number 2. For this offense to be good, even in 12 personnel, Ced Tillman has to really improve and be more consistent like he was before he got the concussion injuries. He has all the ability in the world. He's just got to put it together consistently week in and week out.
Yeah, to your point, there was a stretch there with Jameis Winston as a quarterback where it looked like, yeah, the thing that jumps out about him in those times, contested catches were pretty good with him.
Well, like you said, at the catch point, he's so good. And when the red zone, if you're going 12 personnel and you got Fannin and Njoku against the linebackers, and however they want to do that, and then you have these matchups outside with Jeudy and Tillman. Tillman's size, he's so tough to cover because of his length. He is a very, very large kid. He's long. He's got long arms. He practices hard. He does everything you want as a coach. You just got to put it all together consistently week in and week out. And, there was talk, I remember when we were talking during, with 4 or 5 weeks, day 4 or 5 of camp, I thought Deontay Johnson was pushing him, and then Tillman kind of got back up there. So he's just got to be consistent. All the tools are there. All the physical tools are there. He can immediately be a red zone threat. He's just got to put it all together.
Yeah, and by all accounts, everybody thinks this guy wants to be a really good NFL receiver and is putting in the work. So we'll see. Number 2, and this one, I got to be honest, I'm concerned about this one. Will the Browns be able to run the ball consistently? Take us through what your thoughts are there.
Well, a couple things. Are they going to stay consistent? So you see early on in camp, they were in 2 backs, and they ran just a zone concept with Sampson, and they did a nice job of staying committed to the run game. So that's a zone with an extra fullback in there. They did a really nice job. Junkins did a really nice job with his junk cuts when he was there. He's a key piece to what I think they thought they were going to do. Here he is with a cut inside and then a cut outside during camp. Did a very nice job. You're going to see the Browns are going to run pin and pull here with Ford. He's going to get to the edge. They did a nice job with that. So the point being is they got to these guards pulling again. They got the Batonio and Teller pulling outside, blocking down, blocking zone, blocking gap. The thing is, are they committed to it? And are they committed to it when things go wrong? And are they committed to it when they start getting success in the pass game? I will say this. I was very impressed with especially with Dylan Gabriel's being a rookie. When he was in the game and he played well, I think part of the reason he played well is because after he had a couple really nice throws on 3rd down, instead of getting pass happy, they came back and they ran a base power, a base outside zone, a base pin and pull, which I really liked because it's commitment to the run. And those are body punches that limits pass rush, improves the run later on in the game. So that's what I'll be looking at. Is the offensive line physical, and are they committed to it over 4 quarters?
So yesterday they did add Raheem Sanders to the running back room. So now you got Sampson, you got, as we said, Ford and Sanders. Judkins still waiting for clarity. What do you see? Ford is a guy that I can't figure out. I just can't. In my mind, I know he's got the ability to break. He has the game-breaking speed, but there are too many 0 and 1 yard gains for me to rely on him as a running back.
Well, I was pretty impressed in camp because I know you. And the good thing about you and I, we've been talking for 3 or 4 years, and so we've seen his whole career and what he's done. And I will be honest with you, I thought last year he really improved with not getting so many of those 0 yards. And then during camp, I saw a lot of that where there's sometimes where a 3-yard run can be a great run, and because it's now 2nd and 7 instead of 2nd and 10. And that's what his thing is. He can break those big ones. And I think when Judkins gets back, or if they get another lead back, a big heavy guy, he'll be even better in 3rd downs. But I was impressed, and not to say he's great yet, but he was much improved all camp at getting vertical. And Coach Staley doesn't mess with, you better get vertical, you better be physical, because he'll be screaming and yelling at you. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I was very impressed in camp. I was very impressed with his progression from his rookie year. And hopefully going into the Cincinnati game, he can prove himself. And, if everybody thinks you're not a lead back, you do 2 things. You prove him right or you prove him wrong. I was very impressed in camp, and hopefully he does that with live action come on the 7th.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it can be 2nd and 7 as opposed to 2nd and 10, I can see a world where that works. The other one, and this is another one that I think is legit an area of concern, linebackers in secondary, other than Denzel Ward. So take us through what you see there.
Well, when I'm watching the quarterbacks in second, you're going to see here. So they do a really nice job in man coverage. But in man coverage, you get beat. You're going to see a nice throw from Gabriel to Thrash there, back corner. You're going to see a nice route here by Fannin, another good throw. And basically, the thing that worries you with the Browns defense at times is because they get so much pressure, the ball has to come out fast from the quarterback. And when the ball has to come out fast, a lot of times that can be backs and tight ends, and that can be guys being covered by linebackers or safeties. And you see sometimes that these backs who are super talented, the Kamaras, these guys who can play almost receiver and running back, they give those guys fits because those linebackers and safeties aren't covering every part of practice, right? They got to tackle, they got run fits, they got other stuff to do. So that would be the key. Can these backup guys, besides Ward, can the entire secondary, now that Emerson's out, can the entire second half of that defense, right? The linebackers, secondary safeties, can they cover in man against these really skilled guys of their opponents? I think that's a crucial part of their defense because if they can get to 2nd and 10, then the quarterback has to hold a little bit longer. Receivers have to run deeper routes. Then that defensive line gets home. They don't win 1st down and they throw the ball against these backers. It could be tough days for the Browns defense just because so talented and it's tough to cover these skill guys in the NFL.
What about the single high safety that we've been looking for? Have you seen progress from anybody that has been playing that? And they need to turn the ball over. This secondary needs to turn the ball over, especially if the defensive line is getting after it like we've seen them in the preseason.
Well, it's going to come down. The guy I really liked, he's on the practice squad, Edmonds. I thought he did a great job. But, Kazie's a guy. You got Jenkins. Both guys have been really good down in the red zone. Both been very physical. You've had Hickman has been kind of the guy down in the box replacing, when Emerson got hurt and Newsome went outside. Hickman's kind of been that nickel back in the box. I could see him continuing to do that. I think Miles Harden's the guy who can play outside. And then, I've actually fairly been impressed, even though I love him down in the box. Delpit's a playmaker, and if you allow him to just be a playmaker, I think he could have some success at that second level. I don't think he'll be as successful as he is down in the box, but with the injury to Newsome, I thought Hickman made great strides last year, and he was doing really well before the Emerson injury. But that's a position that has to be watched, right? Is it going to be? I think it comes down to Kazie and Jenkins, and with Hickman being the nickel, maybe Hickman, if they're in 3 linebacker look, Hickman will be that guy. But that'll be absolutely something to watch on the 7th to see what the rotation is, especially when they go nickel personnel.
Can you see them playing Delpit as a high safety? I think he played that against the Bengals because he was physical enough to match up with T. Higgins.
Well, I've always been, it's kind of, like everybody else, I kind of get in that mindset where, he's down in the box. And I've said that to you probably 50 times in the last 3 years. However, one thing we always agree on is that Grant Delpit's a playmaker, and Grant Delpit, like Matthew and a lot of these guys, that are elite college players and come in, especially the LSU kind of guys, they're football players. And to say that Delpit, if he got more work back there, and you just tell him to kind of be like, go get the ball and go make big plays, he might be able to do that just because he's a really good football player and he has a great nose for the football. He did it. He's done it a bunch in camp, especially since the Emerson injury. I think they've rotated a lot of guys just so they don't get caught. And if somebody's not playing well, they can rotate other guys in. But yeah, I'm starting to believe that Delpit can do it. I don't think he can do it all the time, and I think it takes away from what he does down in the box. But he's a talented football player who has a nose for the football.
Let the talented football players play football. It's pretty simple.
You're right. It's pretty simple.
Lance Reisland and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We'll hear from Joe Thomas on the other side of the break. Want to remind you that high school football is here, and Friday Night Huddle on Rock Entertainment Sports Network is the place to go for all the scores and highlights from all across Ohio. Friday night from 9:30 until 10:30. Join legendary head coach Chuck Howell and I. Friday Night Huddle from 9:30 to 10:30 on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. We'll have all the scores and highlights as well as news from across Ohio. Friday nights, 9:30 on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Head to watchrockentertainmentsports.com. Watch rockentertainmentsports.com for channel and programming information.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me, the Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day, put a little play in your day.
We continue talking Browns with Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Hall of Fame offensive lineman Joe Thomas, his thoughts on how the Browns worked the rookie quarterbacks into their preseason game.
The preseason is just different than the regular season. Teams are not putting out their starters. They're not putting a real game plan out. They're not trying to attack your weaknesses. They're not trying to make you think and try to confuse you. They're just doing their basic stuff. And so it's much easier for a rookie quarterback to look good because it's much more like college for them. They have easy progressions, easy reads. They know the few coverages they're going to get. They're not getting crazy blitzes. They're not having to change the play at the line of scrimmage because they don't have the full menu of an offense or a weak game plan like they will during the season. I mean, when you're going against the starters, there's a reason they're starters, right? Because they've been in the NFL. And so the level of competition is just so much steeper when you are going against those starters in the preseason. You have to see it through a perspective lens that gives you some ability to understand, like, this might not be what it would look like when the starters are out there. You have to be able to measure that a little bit and have some realistic expectations, because you can, on one hand, be really excited about the progress of your rookies and to be excited about, hey, they look good in this situation, because it's about developing that path of growth to having a chance to be a starter, even if they're not there right now. Whereas when you go out there and you're thrown to the wolves and you've got the first team defense playing all their stuff, like, you may not even have a chance to show off your decision making and your arm strength because you're so confused at what you see. You don't even know who to go to. You don't even know what to do. And that lack of confidence can make you look really, really bad. And I think the Browns have done a good job in spite of some outside national criticism of protecting the rookies, putting them in as many situations as possible to help them grow and develop without destroying their confidence.
And Lance, we've talked about it. Preseason is not the same as regular season. That Joe Thomas laid that out perfectly in why it's great that we've seen Dylan Gabriel play well. Shedeur Sanders didn't play well, but that's okay too.
Yeah, I said it when Sanders played really well in his first start and Dylan did well, and vice versa. You can't look into it either way. I will say this from Joe. I love the idea. I've been saying the word scaffolding. I'm going to use his word from now on, the path of growth. I really, really like that, because that's exactly right. You're taking steps, right? You can't go from the bottom step to the top step. You got to take all the steps in the middle. And that's what I've been saying about Dylan, just because of his ability to process setback protections, just because he played so long in college. Those are things that Shedeur, because he's a very smart kid, he'll get to there as well. But it is such a different game. And I think DTR is a great example of like preseason versus regular season. And I really like DTR, but it's hard. The NFL is hard. That's why there's only 32 guys in the world that start a quarterback in the NFL. It's a really hard position to play because of everything Joe Thomas said. The other thing I would say is this: that's why Joe Flacco gives this team the best chance to win. And I think what they did with the rookies is they set them up for success, and they gave them things that they would be successful with, and now they can build on that with Joe Flacco as a starter, with the idea that you got to keep learning, you got to keep doing stuff. But if you look at like Shedeur Sanders and when he didn't play well, he'll learn from that because they took away his first throw like they didn't in his first thing, and that's just what the NFL does. They're going to take away. When Joe says they're going to take away what you do well, those guys get paid a lot of money to watch film all day. That's what those defense coordinators do. So they'll grow, they'll be good, and I think Joe Thomas said it best. I think that was a great how he said that. They're only going to get better. They were set up for success, and they're going to have to continue to learn as they move forward.
And again, we have a huge, and you know this as well as I do, there's a huge contingent of Shedeur Sanders fans. Be patient. Let him grow. Let's see what he can do. But make no mistake, it wasn't good against the Rams, and it had nothing to do with who was on the field with him. It just wasn't good enough. He knows that.
Yeah, he does. It's funny when you say that. It's like when I used to get yelled at because somebody would scream at you, "Coach, that's a terrible call." And I would always think to myself, yeah, well, it was pretty terrible. So I guarantee you Shedeur Sanders knows exactly that he didn't play very well. He probably knows he pressed a little bit. I think he probably has some relief in terms of he can just now work on his craft. Make no mistake, all the things that people want to say about these quarterbacks, whether it be good or bad, and there is quite a passionate following. And the way I look at it is people have expectations, and people have expectations when they're Browns fans, and that's okay. So when people, tag me and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about because they're passionate about what they like, I'm okay with that because that without expectations, you get complacent. And he's going to have to grow, and he's going to have to get better, and he's going to have to lose some of his bad habits, which I think he will. The upside is still very good, but it's going to take some time and some patience and some fundamental work, and he'll get there. Patience is the key. That's not what Browns fans are always great at, but that's what's going to take some patience.
So how concerned are you about the offensive line holding up, and what have you thought about DeJuan Jones? Came into camp in really good shape. What have you thought about him?
Well, I'm really excited, and the reason why is because I've heard a lot about their age, and I think the age shows up when you're doing different things, right? When you have to pass protect every time because your quarterback is a thrower and likes to hold on to the ball. And make no mistake, that's what made Deshaun Watson successful. So I don't want to put everything on him. It was just different for what the Browns offensive linemen were used to. Now they're back. I've heard this a bunch of times from all those veteran guys, marry the run with the pass. That basically means that they're going to show a lot of play action, and then those linemen get to kind of run block first and then get pass protection. They're going back to wide zone, pin and pull, gap scheme, power, counter, pulling those guys. I'm very excited. And they've been told now for all offseason, and I think they came in great shape. They've been told all offseason how old they are and how much they've regressed. You go out there and you prove people right or you prove people wrong. And I think they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder with this power run game. And for me, it's not about the running backs. It's about the offensive line. Run game is about the offensive line, and I think these guys are going to be pretty good. Jenkins and these guys got to be better as backups. They got to stay healthy. But these first four guys and DeJuan Jones coming in shape, I'm excited to see what they can do.
How do you think the carries get divvied up for that run game early? Even if Jenkins or Judkins rather gets his legal situation, he hadn't played football in forever. So he probably won't see him against the Bengals in 10 days. How do you think how do the carries get divvied up?
Well, I think it's a true two-headed monster. What I mean by that is I don't think they're going to have situational guys right with Ford and Sampson. I think it's going to be who's hot, who's not. Do you have a long run? Do you need a quick blow? Get a drink of water. I don't. A lot of times these guys are situational, third down, passing situations, formations, personnel groups. Obviously, with only two guys really being in the mix right now with Sampson and Ford, I think it's going to be a true two-headed monster. So, who's hot, who's cold? I think Ford's going to be a little bit better down in the red zone because he's a little bit bigger than Sampson, though I've been very impressed with how heavy Sampson runs for how small he is. And once again, I think it's going to just be who it's not really going to be situational. Like you'll see when Junkins gets back, Ford goes back to third down and things like that. This will all be who's hot, who's not. And regardless of what personnel group's in the game, because they can both catch the ball as well, and they're both solid in pass protection, I think it'll just be who needs a rest and who doesn't. I look for Ford to get a little bit more work than Sampson, unless Sampson gets hot.
What about rookies? What rookies do you think make maybe this is a better way to ask it. What rookies have to make significant contributions for the Browns to win 7-8 games, the higher end of what you think might be the win total?
Well, the first guy that comes to mind is Schlesinger, and people are going to say, what about Graham? Well, Graham's got a bunch of guys with him that are going to be really good. Schlesinger not only has to be an elite player when the ball is set for play, but he's got to be a great leader. He's going to be the green dot guy, so he's got to get everybody lined up. He's got to play way beyond his years. That's what I've watched. I expect him to be outstanding. I expect him to be in the running for Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, just because he has so much on his plate and he can really tackle. Obviously, Mason Graham's another guy who's got to be really good inside because he's a guy who can play all three downs. He can stop the run early on early downs, and then he can pass rush. And he's a guy that I predicted just by having the opportunity to watch so much film. Once the pads have gone on, he's been really, really special. And then those backs, I think the backs got to be productive. Sampson, obviously, early. Junkins, if he gets back into it. Those backs have to help out, sooner than later. And then there's some other guys that, there'll be guys that, we think are going to help that don't, and the guys that we don't think they're going to help that will. So, but if you ask me what rookie has to be impactful week one against Cincinnati more than anybody else, it's got to be Carson Schlesinger at that linebacker spot.
All right, let's look at the ways Browns are going to win games. I think we agree. Their offense isn't going to score a boatload of points week in and week out. What has to happen for this team? Everybody's saying 4 or 5 wins. I think you and I agree that's pretty low. I think they're going to be in the neighborhood of 8-9 wins, right around 500. What has to happen for the Browns to have a successful season relative to the one-loss record?
Well, without question, obviously running the ball and stopping the run. But that's more importantly for me, I think the number one thing, and I've said it now for almost 4 or 5 months, is they have to win first down on both sides of the ball. And here's why. If they win first down on offense, and it's let's just go with 2nd and 6 that I've said a bunch ad nauseum, I'm sure. But if they win first down on offense, that means they dictate what they do on 2nd and 3rd down, meaning they could run or pass. And that's when you get play action shots. That's when you can improve your identity as a power run game. When you get into 2nd, 3rd, and long, that's when you get the exotic blitzes. That's when you get the exotic coverages, things Joe Thomas was talking about. So you have to make sure that you stay out of those long yardage situations on offense to prevent turnovers. On defense, if you win on first down, now you get 2nd, 3rd, and long, which plays to your strength, which is the pass rush. Plays to your strength, which is Jim Schwartz scheming up pass rush. Plays to your strength, you have the best defensive lineman in football and a bunch of guys with him who can rush the passer. So that's the first thing. They got to make sure they end every drive in a kick, right? They can't turn the ball over. And then, as you and I were talking about, that free safety's got to be able to create some turnovers and make sure that he tackles because that's going to be huge. And then going back to what you said, that 12 personnel, another rookie that has to be impactful that I didn't mention has got to be Harold Fannin. And so I think 12 personnel gives them the best chance to win because it allows Kevin Stefanski to find matchups. If a team wants to go, more linebackers, they throw it. More defensive backs, they run it. So I think those things are involved. They got to shorten the game, and everything has to be based on the defense. And the best thing I can say about that is if it's 3rd and long and you're not comfortable, run the ball and punt it because you got a great punter. And we've seen in the preseason, if you have to go 90 yards against the Browns defense, it's very, very hard to do. They're very, very skilled, and it's very hard to go 90 yards. So that would be the key. But the number one key, without question, is win first down on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, the thing that is interesting that we've heard Kevin Stefanski refer to is they got to win the turnover battle. So that's another point of emphasis in the last 2 years. Even in their 11-win season, they were not good at that. All right, before I let you go, Ohio State playing Texas in a couple of days to get the college football season kicked off for both schools. Jordan Rogers, national guy, his thoughts about Arch Manning, who will get the start for the Longhorns against Ohio State this weekend.
But I will say, and I'm going to say this, I don't know what you guys talked about when I went off air. The hype doesn't match the tape. There are good things, and there are some good things But the height or the tape to me doesn't tell you got a first-round draft pick or a top 10 or a number 1 overall draft pick or a Heisman hopeful. I think he's going to go into Ohio State and he's going to struggle because he hasn't played anybody. The last time we saw him against a really good defense was Georgia, and he looked out of place, right? He looked really good against UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State, the worst defense in the SEC. I think there's still a lot for him to grow and a lot we need to see, like Lewis said.
Lance, I play that. He's thrown 90 passes in college and run the ball 25 times total. So there's a total of 115 plays. The tape is inconclusive at this point.
Well, both quarterbacks, if Julian saying and him, both guys have gotten so much hype. And I think you just got to go let him play, right? And obviously, the idea that he's a Heisman hopeful, and obviously that has a lot to do with his last name. And he's a guy that does everything right. It's kind of going back to like when you look at the Browns' new 2 rookie quarterbacks. They're great kids and they stay out of trouble, and it's awesome. And Arch Manning seems like that kind of kid too. So I don't like to put too much pressure on him saying he doesn't deserve anything. But for me, the tape is okay, and I've watched all 90 throws and seen him run, and the physical tools are there. The tape is there, but what is not there is just the reps. And I think they're right. Roger's right. He doesn't have the reps against really high-level opponents. Neither does Sayin. And for me, people, I was just asked last night, what do you think the score is going to be? I don't know what the score is going to be, but I know it's going to be. I believe it's going to be low scoring because both of these quarterbacks are going to see defensive speed and size, and they're live and getting hit that they've never seen in their whole career over the course of 4 quarters. So it's going to be a low scoring game. Obviously, I think I'm not sure who's going to win. I think home field advantage has a big influence on who wins this game, but. I think these guys are really, really good, but I agree with Rodgers in terms of they have it. Neither guy hasn't done enough for anything yet. They both have a ton of talent. Let's go let them play. And what an opening game for both guys to see where they're at.
Yeah, we'll look at the tape again after a full season.
That's right.
We'll see if you're still not impressed. We'll see. Lance Reisland is always great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Always really good film breakdown, video analysis for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Jake Burns from brownsfilmbreakdown.com straight ahead. Stay with us on Sports4CLE.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's welcome in Jake Burns from brownsfilmbreakdown.com. Jake, initial 53-man roster. In the back half of that will get churned a little bit, even going into the weekend and maybe even the beginning part of next week. Just your initial thoughts. When I look at it, it looks like they got younger, faster, and quicker, which I guess is pretty good.
Yeah, in theory, they put themselves in a younger spot. I mean, I think it's nice to feel like your UDFAs are guys that can come in and play right away. And I'm optimistic. There's, a very large number of them compared to previous years here. And across the NFL, probably the Browns would be at the top of that list. So I think you're talking about 12. If you include the kicker change as a part of a rookie scenario, you're looking at 12 guys, 13 with Judkins. Those are a lot of new faces. That's a good percentage of your roster. Now, can those guys be regular season NFL good? We'll see. And there's also some decisions that'll come out here in the next 2 hours. But ultimately, it's going to be interesting to track. They decided to definitely lean into going younger here.
What did you learn from the Browns' final preseason game against the Rams? I know you've addressed that on brownsfilmbreakdown.com. First time we get to see Joe Flacco. Some of the starters didn't play, but a lot of them did.
Yeah, they were good. They were crisp. They were clean. I mean, the Rams didn't bring a team that was, one that they brought their first 2 preseason games. They were playing it very careful. A lot of their late second depth chart guys into the third depth chart guys and beyond. And That's okay. You just wanted to see the Browns play well, and I thought they had really good moments offensively, and I thought they were clean and effective and doing the procedural stuff well. Same for the second unit with Dylan and those guys. I thought that was really clean too, and I just thought it was really great reps for the young guys all around. So I mean, we learned that I think the top group of this team can be an effective group. We'll see what it looks like I said, when you get into real NFL Sundays, when everybody's playing their best. We'll see. You know, you don't want to put yourself too far out in front of the skis there, but there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think that from a procedural standpoint, both offensively and then obviously in the third year of Jim Short's scheme defensively, guys feel confident about where they're going, what they're doing, and executing, right? So the first half was really strong. Second half was not very good. I thought they had too many letdowns at the quarterback position, but for the most part, I felt pretty confident about what the first two groups were able to do and how that shapes up. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good vibes coming out of that, obviously with a bit of reasonable understanding of who they were playing, right? But at the same time, you want to do your job right, and I think they were doing their job right for the most part. So pretty good.
All right. You also did a film breakdown on Joe Flacco and the tight end. So take us through this and kind of your thoughts, how that works in this offense moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of 12, 13 personnel. That means 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends on the field. They got Harold Fannin down to the bottom of the screen on this one in front of you. Put him in the solo side. That's David Njoku, the other tight end in the top slot. Really trying to isolate, get attention, turn to the 3-man side. If that safety on the hash there rolls down, you can throw it right behind him on what's called a glance route, which is what you'll see Joe do to Fannin. So you like to see that. You like to get defenses on the field that play a bit more base, and you can get your heavier tight ends on the field to manipulate them into predictable coverages, less blitzing, right? Because teams like to blitz out of nickel more often. You get that, you get stuff you can predict. The NFL is all about finding predictable stuff. If we can predict what the defense is going to do, we're going to have a better chance to find success. This was another play after that touchdown, next drive out. Pretty popular thing they did a little more with Flacco back in 2023, moving the backside guard, moving the pocket, selling some shotgun run, and then they really torched a lot of teams in that back half of the year when Joe was there, getting Njoku to be a difference maker at the second level, moving him drags, over routes like you see right here, getting him deeper down the field on seam throws. So yeah, I think that's all extremely encouraging for the 2 tight end look stuff that I think they're going to be leaning into a bit more this year.
The other thing it shows you is they have the ability to split both Fannin and Njoku out, and I think that's what you're getting at. That creates some mismatches. Cornerbacks probably not strong enough. Linebackers probably not quick enough to match up.
Exactly right. And then if you get, like I said, more 3 linebacker stuff on the field, teams like to get creative with more of their nickel and dime looks than they do, with blitz pressures against base stuff. They don't spend as much time there. So any moment that you can put 2 tight ends on the field, if a team wants to stay in nickel and that's 3 DBs instead of 3 linebackers, and we got 2 tight ends on the field, then we'll get down there and we'll run the ball a little bit. We'll put more guys in the box and make them regret that, right? And if they want to put another linebacker on the field, then that's when we spread them out. We got 2 tight ends who can move a bit more, and I think Harold Fannin's the best version of a pass-catching tight end behind David Njoku that they've had probably since David's been here. So I am encouraged by that.
What are your thoughts about the way they could potentially use Dylan Sampson? We heard early in camp, in OTAs, they were kind of working him in the slot. Is he a guy that figures pretty significantly into the passing game out of the backfield and kind of motioning him out? And another potential mismatch?
Probably if they want to go that route, I think he can. An encouraging, nice rep there, a little late check release out route that he ran for a first down in the first quarter there. That was an encouraging yards after tackle catch. So it's possible. I mean, it's hard to tell. You don't get them to reveal too much in the preseason about what their bigger, more broad plans are. But his comfortability in catching the football at camp, and then obviously just one opportunity there in the preseason, is encouraging. And I think they will try to leverage that when they can. Kevin has always had a propensity for liking empty formations. Now, empty doesn't mean 5 wide receivers. Empty is usually out of 11 personnel. So you do have a running back running a route. You do have a tight end running a route. Sometimes the Browns will go empty out of 12 personnel because they, again, want to manipulate how many DBs and linebackers are on the field. So I think that Sampson is comfortable doing it. That Tennessee offense in college is just very super narrow, restrictive in terms of what opportunities they give guys to do pro-style things. But I think the Browns saw upside in the ability for him to do that. And so far, it tracks that he can. Now, again, let's put the Sunday lights on and all of that and, the CBS theme music, and we'll see how it shakes out, right? You got to actually see it. But as far as what I saw in camp and what I saw in preseason, he can do it. The volume of which that works, we'll see when Quinshon's back. We'll see if they claim anybody today on the wire at that position as well. So the volume is kind of remains to be seen. If he's going to be leading that room and maybe north of 150 carries in his rookie year, you don't have much wiggle room to be moving yourself out of the backfield all too often. So if he's a more player dense setup here, which is kind of what we thought he would be, parallel to having Judkins around, which is what he was doing during rookie minicamp when Judkins was there, then you could see a little bit more of that.
How do you think Jerome Ford figures into that backfield equation when they get Judkins back, whenever that may be?
I think he's a solid shotgun running back who is sort of plug and play for what they've done for years. He's not gonna have a turnaround, a miracle 1,000-yard season here. There's limits to the contact balance. There's limit to his pass protection ability. Those things have shown up, but he's been a more effective gun runner than back straight single back or I back runner in his NFL career. Obviously, that's where he tracked from his early Alabama days into his Cincinnati days in college. This is where he's most comfortable. He's still got nice speed. He can still run away from people. They can still throw him the football here and there. I just think he's a nice chess piece, good depth, and not a player you're leaning in too heavily to. But at this point, he might be someone they are because we don't know how long Quinshon will be out or again, what their plan is here at the waiver wire. So it remains to be seen, but he's certainly going to have a role this year, and I think it's going to be a bit more late down than early down touches.
Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, turn our attention to the defense. We'll hear from Aiden Huntington. Makes the team as an undrafted rookie free agent. Sports4CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me. The Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
We continue talking Browns with Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com. Earlier in the week, Aiden Huntington, the rookie undrafted free agent who made the team, defensive lineman, talked about kind of his mindset coming in as a undrafted rookie.
Big thing for me is just playing with a relentless effort. That's what stands out. I mean, I'm 290 pounds. I ran a 4.6, but just the ability to showcase that I just can't do that one play. I got to do that every play. So my process into that is making sure I'm conditioned, making sure that I'm getting on the assault bike, I'm doing my rounds on the assault bike. So in those moments where I have to run down there on punt and then I have to play the defensive drive, I had that win so I could so there's no drop off and I could stay fresh and play my game.
Did you have other offers to sign after the draft?
I did. I had a couple of teams that offered, but for myself, from around 2 weeks before when Jock had called me, he wanted to meet. We met a couple times. I think we had like a 2-hour Zoom session one time, and then, deep down, I said to myself, maybe this is the place I want to be. And, deep down, I had the talks, and then, unfortunately, I didn't get drafted, and I can't control that. But I knew, okay, if I come to Cleveland, what's my opportunity going to be, and how am I going to make sure that I stay in Cleveland, not just come for OTAs, not just come for training camp, but make sure, I can stay here and make an impact.
And Jake, you kind of touched on it. Preseason's one thing, regular season's another, but every time he was on the field, he was doing something positive. So I think he's probably earned part of that rotation. He's earned some reps. Not a ton, but he'll get some reps.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a late down pass rusher, ideally. He's mentioned there, he's 290. I would challenge whether he's actually 290 fully or not, but he's a freaky athlete. Whether he's 290 or 282 or whatever, he's a freaky athlete. I tried to highlight that. I did a film room of a pass rush there on Saturday against the Rams, where he has the ankle flexibility of a defensive end, like some of the wildest ability that the best defensive ends in football have, is to be full speed, leaning into the direction you want to turn, sometimes leaning into an offensive lineman, and your ankle is like sometimes so flexed that your shin is almost parallel. Miles is notorious for this. I mean, that's what makes him at 280, 6'5", 280, an unbelievable athlete, is he can do that, and he plays with unbelievable power. The difference is Huntington's not as tall. He doesn't have the arm length, and he doesn't have the mass as an interior player to get away with some of the early down stuff. So guys get two offensive lines. So think about teams who like to get vertical in the run game, teams who like to run what's called duo, which is a double team at the point of attack concept. Teams like to run tight zone, another more dense double team, late peels to linebackers, but double teams initially. He doesn't do that well there. Now, he can get better. He can start dropping to a knee, taking guys out, going low. He can start getting better at splitting those double teams, getting skinny. But for now, that's something he didn't get a ton of at the colleges he played at. And then ultimately, he doesn't have that experience coming in the league. But what he does have is a powerful upper body, a strong strength profile, and some of the best north of 280 pounds agility and explosion that you'll find. Like if you go look at his relative athletic score, it's pretty staggering that somebody wouldn't take a late round flyer. Now, they don't take a late round flyer because he's undersized and he didn't produce as well as you would hope at the places Kent State, Louisiana Monroe, Tulane that you would have hoped. But you can see a pathway to being a guy who's playing late down. Maybe you got a lead. It's the fourth quarter. You just want to throw him out there. He's a guy like him, and he illuminated this in his clip you just showed. He's got to play like his hair's on fire. He's got to play harder than everybody around him, and he does. He's nonstop, all gas, all gas the whole time, which is again easier to do when you're really in shape, like he talked about, and you have rare explosive traits. So that will help him be annoying is just probably the best word, player for opposing linemen to block in those pass settings, because he's just nonstop. And you get him involved in those twist games up front where he's either twisting with a defensive end next to him, or the interior defensive tackles are twisting and he's moving laterally and using that speed explosion. You can see that pathway. Does he become like a dominant? So think of this like an undersized guy, maybe didn't produce as well in college. Think Geno Atkins, Bengals defensive tackle for a long time. Little bigger, but the same type of explosion, the same build, ironically, but he was able to learn how to play early down run defense, and that's why Geno became a full, big, all-pro player over time. I don't know if that's there for Aiden. It's extremely unique and rare to watch a guy running down the field on punt coverage and kick coverage wearing number 66. It's almost silly because who wants to step in front of that? I honestly hope he keeps that number because it helps him stand out. But it's just funny to watch him do that because you got these guys who are on kick return who are like, I didn't sign up for this, man. This guy's 280 running full speed, and he's just throwing people out of the way, but also showing enough speed to run away from some tight ends and linebackers who are out there doing those things, trying to block him, which are, the more popular special teams positions. And there's so much to feel encouraged about. They put him out there and let him hit a wham block on the first offensive play where he's kind of cheating in motion and then hits a defensive tackle in the ear hole and knocks him out of the play. So I think they love him. I think they like the person. I think they like his energy, his effort, his football brain, his football acumen. And I think you got a contributor here for 4 years. Now, does it go, well, 3 with the UDFA structure? So we'll see if it goes into something where it's like, oh, okay, this guy's turned into like a perennial Pro Bowler, or heaven, God willing, a pro, like an all pro. But I'm just saying the profile for what you like to see there from an athletic perspective, explosion, power, speed, it's there. We'll see if it translates into something hugely meaningful. But for the baseline, a guy who can contribute in all those ways on top of giving you some pass rush traits, that's an easy player to keep. And you can see why they were eager to come out and have that opinion about him right after the game that he's making the roster, which is pretty rare for Kevin and Andrew Berry to feel comfortable doing. So they love him.
All right, you mentioned the film breakdown. Let's take a look at it. We do have it. So this is from him in the preseason. What do we see?
Yeah, so this is the first 2 weeks. We don't have anything week 3 on this one, but you do see some of the traits that allow him to win in these short areas that you have to win as a defensive tackle. So this is just a screenplay at the top, but you can get a feel for some of that lateral quick movement that he's got, his ability to maybe put a foot in the ground, get to the opposite direction really quickly and beat somebody across the face. Maybe I'll roll the film. This is my film room, I understand. So, the little swipe move, little hand swipe move. He's got some of these things in his bag naturally. You see that little club, and then you're ripping underneath. He'll do those things. He's got a nice ability to turn the short corner where he will, try to knock the outside arm. This is a bull rush, so he does have some. He's a 30+ 225 bench rep guy, so like he can. You give him a chance and pass where you're deepening in the pocket, the guards are getting really, back in their stance. He will run you back and be able to push through with power, as that was an example against Carolina. Here's another one in Philly week 2 that I would encourage people to go check out this film room because you get a really good encompassing look at who he is. But yeah, really strong. Also that if you're just banking on him trying to win around you, he can win through you as well. I think that sneaks up on people sometimes. And then there's also his ability, I think, to turn that short corner, which there's just a really good example of this against the Rams, which is on our Instagram and TikTok and on our Twitter page at Browns Film Breakdown, that I tried to highlight some of the stuff that he's comfortable doing. And it was just really impressive that he can turn that short corner. Here's a look at it where he'll get that little outside club and then try to rip the inside arm up under the armpit of the guard and then try to turn that short corner. See how he gets underneath that outside arm of the guard? He tries to turn that short corner and then condense the pocket, because look at the ankle flexibility that you'll eventually see once we play this thing through. He can really lean into you and not lose that full speed, whereas most guys his size will ultimately just they'll just like round everything off. You're a big guy, it's body mass, right? Like it's not to knock bigger defensive tackles, but that's why you're like, why was Aaron Donald great? And this is not to say I'm saying Aaron Donald is in the picture here, but like those guys who can win at the more condensed body size style and can win in that unique sort of like short area, win in a box, run around you as a telephone pole type. Those are the guys that are just really hard to pass block against.
Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com and I are going to step aside to take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about the rookies on this roster and their scheme fit. Sports for CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com. So, Jake, we kind of alluded to it a couple segments ago. A lot of young guys, a lot of rookies. What do you think of the rookie class and how they fit into the schemes that the Browns are running, both offensively and defensively?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to lean into, on the offense side, it's going to be mostly veterans, but like you are going to see plenty of Sampson. You are going to see plenty. I don't know how much Gage will get out there as a wide receiver. That probably depends on health around him. He does a lot of innate things I like, but I don't know how much you'll see of him this year. He's going to be more of a special teams guy for them. I think they like him as a punt returner right away. We'll see if that tracks what that ultimately looks like for him. But there's enough wide receiver traits there that I like: spatial awareness, route running ability, the ability to sink the hips in and out of cuts, that are like, I wouldn't mind him being on the field a bit. And he's right there with Jamari Thrash on the inside for some opportunity in the slot. So that's the spot. Harold Fannin will play. He'll play a good amount. I wouldn't be surprised to see him north of 50 targets this year. I think he's going to have a nice role. I think they like his versatility. We'll see if the blocking tracks. He's not an unwilling blocker, not a guy who you can see like goes into blocking reps with just reluctance and I got to do this. It's a part of my paycheck or, part of my scholarship in college. He will get after it, but how willing will he be? How much will he want to when they use him in the backfield like they used him at fullback a couple times last week? That remains to be seen. But there's enough there as a pass catcher. He'll have a role. Defensively, it's a little more up in the air. I mean, like, you could certainly see Mason's going to have a huge role. Carson's going to have a huge role. They've carved out confidence in their teammates already. So those guys are going to be a big part of things. I don't know about Dom Jones. There's enough traits there. The length, he's got that length at corner you like. Mix it up a little bit. There's a great opening drive clip that I'm sharing today on our website where he is against Jalen Coker in week 1 against the Panthers. But in particular, Coker's going to be, they just traded away Adam Thielen today because they want to feature Coker more. He sits on a hinge route from Coker in one-on-one that it's just so well done, defending that route 12 yards downfield and getting a hand in there, breaking it up. He's interesting. It's going to be some growing pains. He's young. Same for Donovan McMillan at safety. These guys, they just like the athleticism and the ball traits that both of them have shown. So I think they both have a chance to be more special teams guys right away, but also, sort of ultimately step into a role should it present itself, and they feel like there's some confidence these guys could be real players for them. It's no secret between like the DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman, who's still around. The Browns have never been afraid of safeties who have the athletic traits and the instincts, and even if they're a UDFA and they see those instincts up close in camp, they'll keep them. They did that with McMillan. Easton Mascarenas Arnold, the linebacker, more of a thumper, bigger body guy. He's probably on the roster until Winston Reed is healthy. He starts the year on IR. He'll be back after 4 weeks is the vibe you gather. But he'll hit you, man. He'll really come downhill, fill a gap, and hit you. So it's like a Sam linebacker when the Browns are in 3 linebacker sets. I think he's got a chance to be that guy, really fit that C gap or that edge contain, and be a physical football player, and especially a physical presence on special teams. So it's not hard really when you look at these guys to see how each of them has a role. And if you can find a way to make these guys a part of your core identity of the roster in the next, couple years, that's just a great cheap turnaround for a team that needs a couple of those cheap results because of some of the, lingering Deshaun Watson stuff that's out there.
So aside from Dylan Gabriel, quarterback, if one or two of these rookies were going to have, significant impacts, which do you think Andrew Berry and the Browns would really want? So what would be key to the Browns having a few more wins than most people think? Which of these rookies have to pop?
Well, I mean, if you're eliminating the quarterbacks, it's probably the linebacker D-tackle duo. I mean, it's Mason Graham being the 5th pick and being a real guy early. It's Carson Schlesinger stepping on the field, and everything you gather, it's moving in a nice direction that way. But him being on the field, stepping on the field and rolling with it and being a guy, again, right away leading the defense vocally, verbally, physically, that would be huge. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's like Judkins was the leader in the clubhouse, just a clear pathway to 200 carries and a real big role right away. I don't know how long that's going to linger. Remains to be seen. It's still a chance for him to have an opportunity, maybe the last half or last 3 quarters of the season, if things start to speed up a little bit. So that is one that makes sense. And Sampson and Fannin are the other two that I think if Sampson can carve out that dual role that we think he's best fit for, and Fannin can be like the Browns version of Isaiah Likely to Mark Andrews, that's Njoku, then you can see where Joe finds a bunch of comfort in that, and maybe the young quarterback step in to find the same comfort in that, and that produces. So I think it's really Mason, Carson, and then Jake's giving you rocket science stuff here. The other one is Quinshawn, who's the top 3 picks, but those guys being real guys, I mean, like all Pro Bowl type players, largely define the health of your class, the reputation of your class years later. But there is enough intrigue between Gabriel and Sanders, and then obviously what you think you might have in Sampson, and then maybe some of these UDAs, if a couple of them catch on, you got a type of class that, if they're good, and there's enough tools here to be encouraged, kind of rewrites where your roster is, and the Browns just desperately need that rewrite to happen.
All right, before I let you go, you also did a film breakdown of some Jim Schwartz Blitz packages, kind of a preview. Take us through that and what we're seeing here.
Yeah, the Browns in year 3 are going to try to pair some different coverages up with some of their blitz looks. So I tried to, they're going to be simple in the preseason. This was a real single mug, is nothing, nothing crazy. You see this across the NFL, you see it across college ball. It even trickles into high school ball. But what you're trying to do is walk enough guys up into the line of scrimmage to make the pass protection think and be confused. And that's what they did there. They thought they needed to slide right. They slid right, and they got a free blitzer through. This is a fire zone. So you're going to see Delpit come off the left side. You're going to see Malik Collins drop out. They paired it with cover 3, which they have not done a ton of in Schwartz's system, at least as far as I've studied. I like pairing cover 3 with this look, sending a depth player like Delpit, and then creating some chaos up front and dropping a D tackle out right in the middle of it. So I'm keenly paying attention to how they're going to operate inside of the guidelines of what Schwartz likes to do. He likes to play man, like you'll see here, behind some of his blitz looks and try to get after the quarterback quickly, but also more zone that gives them some safety nets in certain 5-man pressure looks. They need to be a little cleaner at that. A little more cover 3, a little more traditional cover 2, as you see cover 3 here, and that dropper will take away some of those answers the quarterback wants to throw to when he feels like he's getting overloaded off one side, and it can create some real stress for quarterbacks. So Jim is year 3, man. It's a lot of the same faces for him on his defense. He's got a lot of the stuff installed. It's just about now, how do we differentiate? How do we break our tendencies? And I think I'm encouraged early here in a preseason that it's pretty vanilla, but there's encouraging stuff there that can make, hopefully, the Bengals think a little bit more than they want to in week 1.
Jake Burns, is always great stuff. Tell us again, brownsfilmbreakdown.com is where people can find you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, yep, that's the website. There's an app that's available through our website. It's a great community, constantly talking about the Browns, having discussion about them, to learning about the X's and O's, learning about what the film tells us, and really that's why we do what we do. We try to recognize the game as it unfolds, and that's what I try to pass to folks. You watch a game on Sundays, and then we learn about it all week, and I think the community has formed around that idea, and we've become some smarter fans is what the ultimate goal is here, is to make Browns fans as well informed as we possibly can. So excited about that.
Jake, is always great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Jake Burns, brownsfilmbreakdown.com. Make sure you check him out. It's always really good stuff. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. No show tomorrow or Monday for the Labor Day weekend, but we'll see you back here Tuesday at 4 o'clock on Sports for CLE. Have a great holiday weekend, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday at 4 on Sports for CLE.